Hey everybody, it's getting late in the day, just getting down here into the fish room, so tonight we're just going to do another simple feeding video. I'm going to start by throwing in some floating cichlid pellets. They generally go pretty crazy for these. And while they're going nuts for those, I'm going to throw in some flake and try to get that down into the water column a little more. That'll get some of the flakes down to the bottom. And then last but not least, I'm going to throw in some algae wafers. I'm going to break some of them up, throw some of them in whole. Little chunks and pieces, that way some of them get to the bottom, some of them get eaten on the way down. And all of my bottom dwelling fish and vegetarian type fish will get plenty of food. And I always throw a couple in down here at the far end because I've got that tilapia that stays down at this end, and my pleco in this tank usually stays down at this end, so I make sure some algae wafers get to the bottom for that fish as well. So that was quick work of all that. Let me throw some more flakes in there and get them swirling around, see if we get a little more activity. We're going to close the lid so we don't lose anybody. I'm going to leave you to it for a few minutes while I go around and get everybody else fed. Yesterday was a fast day. Nobody got anything to eat, so that's probably why they were so overly aggressive tonight. Not sure what they're in there still striking at. I guess they're seeing the odd. Okay, there's still some floating pellets have made their way up into the edges and the corners, and they're still sitting up there floating, and the occasional fish is still going up and hitting on them. So while they're still doing that, I'm going to go ahead and finish getting everybody else fed. As long as you've all got something to look at for a few minutes while I'm doing this, I'm satisfied. Alright, I am now out of my freeze-dried krill, so I'm going to have to be placing an order for that here in the near future. And if you give me half a second, I'll get you off of the tripod here for a moment. A little bit of a look at my pleco that I was talking about in here. I still see a little bit of damage to the tip of its tail. Not sure if that's old damage, or I'm not sure if possibly the Chinese algae eater that's in this tank still goes after it and chews on its tail sometimes. I've never seen it doing it. I've never seen it harassing it, at least not in a long, long time. But I suppose it is possible. Now, these plecos are tough as nails. They're actually armored fish. And I would imagine if anybody in the tank had anything to worry about, it would be any fish that were giving this one a hard time. Because if it wanted to, it could really, you know, give another fish a hard way to go. So I'm not too concerned about it. And one of these days, I know I've talked about it forever, but one of these days I'll get in this tank and I'll get that stupid Chinese algae eater out of here. And it'll be gone once and for good. So, got a little bit of glare on the tank, but you can kind of see my spotted tilapia back there. Just spends most of its time back in that corner while the lights are on. Oddly enough, at night, it comes down to the other end of the tank, and it seems to hang out with the other fish. Whenever I turn the lights on in the morning, it's always down here, and it's usually sort of intermingled with the school of all these minnows. And the lights come on, and he just sort of drifts his way back down to that end of the tank, and that's where he spends most of his time. I was kind of hoping we'd get to see that Chinese algae eater for a minute. Get to see the culprit of what I'm talking about. It's very similar to these. These are white sucker fish. These are native, local fish. But it looks very similar to that. It's in here somewhere. And I'm going to go ahead and give you one final look at my... believe this is a sailfin pleco, and let me look over my shoulder here for a moment. Well, I've got another one in my T-bar tank, and I think it was sold as the same species, but its markings are different. It's much, much larger, even though it's in a smaller tank. It's been growing a lot faster than the other one we were just looking at. That, of course, is just its tail, and then the body of the fish goes on up, and it's, you know, hiding back in the... Anubias back there. So I'm still not 100% sure whether that is the same species in this tank as we've got right here. Bought them at the PetSmart. I bought them under the name High Fin Spotted Pleco. And again, to the best of my ability, I think they are actually sailfin pleco. And I cannot remember for the life of me what the L number is on the sailfin plecos. But I believe... that's what this is a sailfin. Now, what the one we were just looking at is, I'm not sure. It looks very different. It's got similar tail structure. You see the way the tail kind of curls around on itself and almost kind of creates a closed loop. The other one has that same sort of tail, and it's got that same sort of reddish brown edging around the tail. And then I guess the markings are similar, but it's got all these different colored blotches all over it, and it's not a uniform, even color at all. It's got grays and dark areas on it and light areas. It just looks very different than this fish, so just not sure if it's the same species or not. Alright everybody, I'm going to say thanks for watching. I got to get going. It's after 9 o'clock already, and I haven't really even finished getting everybody fed because I got to go around and do all the little oddball stuff now. Get my puffer fed and get my tenopoma fed and so on and so forth. So I'm going to say thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss anything I got coming up. You never know what it's going to be with me. Hopefully things will straighten out here soon enough, and we'll get back into a little bit more of a normal routine. So again, if you're subscribed, you won't miss anything I got coming up. Don't forget, of course, this one is my 125-gallon native tank. Thanks again, and I will see you real soon on the next one.